Good evening, all. Hopefully everybody's having a great weekend. Sunday night, getting ready to get prepped for a new week in front of us. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, meaning family time, blessings of love. So I want you, real quick, close your eyes and just think about your loved ones. For all of you mothers and fathers out there that are listening to this, I just want you take a deep breath and imagine how much you love your children. How you would do anything possible for them. Even support them when they're in a bit of trouble in their life and they've got to make changes to do better. And you want only the best for them. So you're willing to stand by them and help push them and guide them to make better decisions and go the right way in life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm A.R. Hayes. This is Convict's Thoughts, and today we're going to be discussing the loss of life, the death of a very young man, Daniel Terry Williams, who passed on November 9th in an Alabama correctional facility. Father was waiting at the gates for him to be released. He had a 1-year sentence, ladies and gentlemen. 1-year sentence for property theft. So imagine, as a parent, as somebody that you absolutely love and adore, that you raised, and you can't wait for him to get out and start moving forward and bettering their life at the age of 22 years old. Their whole life is still ahead of them. Yes, they made a horrifically bad decision that landed them serving a 1-year sentence in a facility with many other people that are there for lifetimes. They made the decision that they were going to spend the rest of their lives committing crime and living within the penitentiary setting. Now, I know it's hard for many to accept the fact that when someone's in prison serving a sentence, that there really are good people that have just made bad mistakes. So many judge the fact that once you become that convicted felon, having to serve a sentence, that you're no longer the good person that society sees people as. Trust me, I think I would know. I get doubted every day. I have people question on whether I can maintain my road and my path to living a better life, because they feel as though once you've been a criminal that you can't change. Yet when you really focus on the overall viewing of this, it's those very people that are looking at the justice system stating that they want rehabilitation to transform and take place so that we can better punish people, for one, for the crimes they commit, but then when they come out, they don't recommit crime. So they put all their emphasis that this is the right way to do it. But then you've got that other hand of people that just feel like, man, you might as well just drop the gauntlet on every single one of them that's a felon and just end it now. They want the death penalty for even a minimum burglary charge. And I just kind of shake my head. I shake my head because I have met some people in the Department of Corrections that literally just made a very bad mistake, and it cost them years of their life, and all they wanted to do was get that opportunity to not only better themselves, but improve their relationship with their loved ones and live a life moving forward in a better way and helping others. I know that's hard to believe for so many. Once in prison, always the criminal, blah, blah, blah. I hear it every day, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't think that I don't hear it every day, you're fooling yourself. But let's get back to this young man. Daniel Terry Williams. 1 year sentence. On the doorstep to going home, father was waiting to pick him up and bring him home. Next thing you know, that family is informed that this young man is on life support in the hospital fighting for his life. What many don't understand is this is very common. I'm going to explain to you why. First of all, the warden told the family and the father that the reason why this young man was on life support fighting for his life was because he overdosed while in the penitentiary. He overdosed. Literally, with days to the gate, days to a better life, days to going home, he overdosed. That's not what happened, ladies and gentlemen. That's a lie. That is an absolute lie. For those of you that follow my channel that have been in a little bit of trouble yourself, to some of you that have probably even maybe done more time than me, that maybe even have more to say in regards to the system than I do, because you're very knowledgeable of it yourself, maybe through a loved one or even time that you've done yourself, you know at the age of 22, when you're getting ready to leave, what happens? There's a lesson that gets taught, ladies and gentlemen, from inmates to the leaving inmate. Okay? And it goes one of two ways. If you are an inmate, like this young man, 22-year-old Daniel, that was serving a very short sentence at a very young age, when you were preparing to go home, they send a message with you to remember. At the age that he was, it's literally considered in the penitentiary to be like a kid. You're not really even seen as a man or an adult because you're so young that the inmates, knowing that you have such a short time to do and you are so young, their only mission is to send you out with the mentality to not come back, because if you come back, and we used to have a rule where I was doing my time, if you came back within a year of your past sentence, meaning you quickly re-engaged a criminal mentality or you violated and you came back at a young age, we put one on you. And for those of you that don't know what put one on you means, we whooped you. We whooped you. But you see, before you go home at this young age, we whoop you. It's a going home party. It's a lesson being taught. In most cases, if you're in good standing on the yard, it's not as bad as what it could be. It's a lot of punches to the legs, the stomach, the sides. We leave you bruised, sore, and with a complete lesson in your mind. Do not do this again. Do not come back. I need to make a pretty clear-cut statement. For those of you that truly believe the penitentiary does all it can to rehabilitate inmates, you are wrong. I know that comes across as pretty blunt, but that's the only way it can be stated. Prison is not rehabilitation of anybody. You either learn how to be a better criminal, or in your mind, you get fed up of having to do that time. You get fed up of being around people that literally are annoying dirtbags that don't mingle as well with you as you would want, like a girlfriend or friends in society. So you personally make the decision you're not going to come back. It took me many attempts to finally learn that I didn't want to come back. I became a part of the prison society while I was in there. I was not being rehabilitated. I was learning how to be a better criminal. I learned how to fight better. I learned how to become more violent. I learned how to take my crimes from a small scale to a bigger scale. And I became friends with people on the inside. Meaning I would fight for them more than I would fight for people on the streets. They became my family. I know it's sad to say, but that's the way it was. But I wasn't serving a 1-year sentence either. These 1-year sentence people, like this young man, are not invited to join the prison society. They're not brought into the mix, but they are taught a lesson when they leave. It's kind of a friendly lesson on most parts. It's come back and it'll be worse. But it's also a reminder the next time you come back, you won't be doing 1 year. You're going to be doing many years, because now you will be an habitual offender, meaning you will get more time added to your sentence because you have priors. So you're either going to go from a short-time inmate and learn your lesson, get back out and get your shit together and straighten your life out, or you'll be back in here spending a lot more time with us. Now, outside of the friendly so-called lesson that we send these youngsters home with, there's an opposite end of the spectrum of what could have possibly happened. This young man could have owed money on the yard. It don't matter how much, doesn't matter to who. If you owe money and you have not paid it prior to hitting that gate to get off of that yard, they're coming for you and they're going to whoop you. Sometimes if it's bad enough, they're going to take it to an extreme. There's a good possibility you will lose your life. I've seen a lot of lost lives in my years. Many people I wish I had never seen it happen to. Anything from an 18-year-old young man to an 85, 90-year-old man. You know, at first, it's hard to watch, it's hard to see, it's hard to accept. Emotionally, it affects you at first. When you get deeper into the realm of it and you see it more and more often, it doesn't affect you as much. I had a so-called friend's body wrapped in a sheet laying in the hallway in front of my cell in our prison run for 8.5 hours after he passed. I didn't even pay it attention because I had seen it so much at that point. I took one glance out of my cell when I heard him open his cell door yelling for the help to come. I knew what had happened. I knew it had happened. I was in the intertwinings of the art, so of course before it even happened I had already caught wind of it and had already prepared myself what the end result was going to be. So when that sheet was laying over the body in the middle of the hall for 8 hours, it wasn't anything new to me. You learn in the penitentiary that you turn and you look the other way as things happen. If you're not a part of the mix of what's happening, you look the other way and you just don't pay it any attention whatsoever. If you get involved, you're going to get handled too. I've got many of the penitentiary stories, just like many that have come out here and probably got on YouTube to talk about all the really cool penitentiary stories and all this hype to get people engaged. I got them all too, ladies and gentlemen. I've been the one that walked down to the payphone at the end of the run to call my loved ones collect, standing there while another inmate was getting shanked, crawling towards me, asking me to help him. I've seen a lot. Have I seen as much as many others? Well, maybe not. But I've been dirt enough for my own self that I don't want to do it again. And I'm sorry if I come across to some as numb to people losing their life in this type of situation. I shouldn't be speaking of this young man as if it's just another individual in the day of life that lost his chance at having a future. But I'm sorry, I've been numbed. I've been numbed. This is what the penitentiary that many rely on to rehabilitate people does. So I could sit here in front of a camera and I could talk about this young man and I can give you the different routes that probably happened to put this kid onto life support and then just succumb to his injuries. This young man was beaten. Beaten by one person. He was beaten by a group of individuals. And in my opinion, if I got to rewind it back, this wasn't a lesson being taught for him to not come back to the penitentiary. This was something much grander than that he had an issue on the yard. He was being released and the inmates handled it. He was never going to have the opportunity to go home. If he was going to go home, he was going to be permanently damaged. They always have a saying when you're going to prison, and I hope that people, young, old, middle-aged, no matter what it is, if you find yourself in some trouble and you're going to the penitentiary and you're going to have to do some time, learn something very quick. Do not get in debt to anybody for any reason. I don't care if you like to play cards, don't gamble. I don't care if you have an addiction, don't use. It doesn't matter what it is. Do not borrow store from anybody. Don't borrow someone's TV. Don't ask somebody if you can use their CDs to listen to. Any little gone wrong moment could cost you dearly. And I'll tell you right now, for that person, your family will never be told the truth about what happened to you. Your family could pound on the door, they can argue with the state, they can do whatever they think they need to do, and they're never going to know the truth. This young man's family was told he overdosed. That is sickening to even think that a warden would tell someone's family that he overdosed when it is very known, it's obvious the kid was beaten. But that's what our system has decided to do. They lie to the families of inmates. They do not tell the truth. They are not transparent. My wife had to call numerous times to find out why I wasn't able to call her. Was I in the hole? Had I been hurt in one of the riots? Anything of that nature of my time being done, and never once would they give her a clear-cut, truthful answer. Ever. Never. And when she had to battle to get visitation rights back, phone call rights back, all kinds of stuff, all they ever did was just shut her down, lie to her, disconnect from the whole ordeal, and just put her out like she was a criminal. I know I have people on my channel that are prison reform, and I have so much respect for all of you that put in your daily lives to try to make things better and help those people like myself overcome what we were enduring at the time to better ourselves at a later time. You guys all have my absolute respect. Absolute. I even respect correctional officers for the jobs that they have to do, because it's not an easy one. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, their lives are at risk. Every day. Every day. It doesn't matter what type of yard they're working on. Anything from a minimum to a high maximum security, you are at risk every single minute of your day. This young man that lost his life was on a minimum security dorm-style penitentiary. That's the worst. One of my worst experiences I ever had in the entire time that I had to serve prison time happened on an actual medium-high custody prison that was a dorm setting. So now you have to figure you've got 300 people crammed into bunk beds in a single big gym-sized room that half of them in there are murderers. The other half are low-level, doing less than a couple of year inmates that shouldn't even be around those said inmates. You don't think things pop? Now you're taking a highly racial situation as well that has racial tensions, because trust me, if anybody thinks that the penitentiary is not racist, you're wrong. And now you're putting them all into a big room and nobody is allowed to talk to anybody unless it's full-out war. Prison is a whole nother world, everybody. It's a whole nother world. But in your mind, you have to realize, how would you feel if that was your son that made a simple mistake of a property theft, got 1 year to go learn his lesson and get his stuff in gear and get back out to try to move forward in his life? This is supposed to teach him a lesson. Is that lesson literally supposed to be meant for the family to learn because they lost their son's life and now it's up to the family to learn a lesson? That's what happened here, right? The dad now has to endure and learn a lesson because it cost him his son. I'm not against authorities. I'm not against punishment. I understand people have to learn lessons, and I understand the basic reasoning behind jail and prisons. I get it. But you don't have to treat inmates as if we're terrorists. And a lot of people, you don't understand that either. When you go to the penitentiary, like myself, we are considered terrorists. If something were to happen, like a war or something around us, we are left to die. You don't free us. You don't let us out. Even if we only have 3 days left of a 1-year sentence, we don't get to go home. We're considered terrorists. Our lives do not matter. And they clearly in the penitentiary tell you that. They tell you that. Maybe it's just the bad employees that do, but I heard it over and over as I sat on my run and I sat in my cell looking at my hands, wondering how I could better my life and how I could get home to my family, my wife, to try to take the lessons I've learned and move forward. And every day it just got harder and harder. I got disrespected more and more. For those of you that haven't read about the case, I recommend that you do it. Learn a little bit for yourselves and take a look at it, because this is supposed to be a young man that's serving 1 year to learn a lesson and come home and move forward in life. His dad was there to pick him up. And instead, his father had to make the decision to take him off of life support. He no longer has a son. This wasn't a violent individual that committed a heinous quadruple murder. He was not a young man that changed the forever life of a child. He took some property. He took some property. He stole something. We don't even really know what he stole. I haven't got that deep into the research of it, but let me tell you, I'm going to reach out to the young man's father if I can find a way to do it. I would like to sit down and chat with him. I would like to support him as a father. I want to help answer questions for him, because I think he deserves that. I don't think he deserves any more punishment than what he's already endured in the loss of his son. I think I need to reach out to him just to be there to listen and hear and share the love of his son. Because that's what we do as good people. We help those that are in pain overcome that, right? That's what we do as people. That's what we do as good people. We don't attack them and bring them down farther. We help them. Or at least that's what we should be doing. Here we come into Thanksgiving. Let's all, this Thanksgiving, really remember those that we love. All of our family. Everybody around us. But do me a slight favor. If you respect me and my channel, just in the slightest, do me a slight favor. It's not even something that's going to better me financially or help me get somewhere in life, but it's going to help me in my heart know that other people share the same feelings, that we're willing to think about others, want better for others, wish this young man's father all the love and recovery that he can have, just like we do the Idaho 4 victims' families, just like we do other lost members of families in horrific true crime cases. This father lost his son. So if you're looking at the Kobergers in the Idaho 4 case right now, realize it's not their fault whether their son was involved or was not involved. It's not their fault. They are good people too. They haven't been charged with any crimes. So please keep them in your hearts too. Just the same as the Gonzalez, as the Mogans, as the Chaplins, Xana's parents. All of the people out there that have lost and endured, even many of you, as I will hold many of you in my heart and in my mind, because I know you've endured and you've lost and you're in pain. We're going to do the same for the Williams family as well, because they lost a 22-year-old young man that could have possibly been bigger and greater than what I'm able to accomplish today at a much younger age, and he may have changed some lives as well. If you could do that for me, it would be so meaningful, not only to myself, but my channel, my wife, and I would appreciate every single one of you. So I tip my cap. It's another night spent with you. I'm A.R. Hayes, Convict's Thoughts, talking in regards to Daniel Terry Williams and his loving family. Rest in peace, my man. Have a great one.